Hi guys, welcome back to the Small Barn Workshop. I hope you're well. So I've had an interesting week. At the beginning of this week I started to make the workbench for this area which I'm sat in now. In fact, this is the timber for it here. But I ended up having to postpone that. We had a series of storms last weekend that poured water down my chimney. I've known for a while I had a little bit of an issue with the chimney. For those of you who watch this channel regularly may recall at the beginning of the year I detected what I thought was a crack in the chimney, and I put the ladder up on the smaller roof of the house to go and investigate it. Couldn't quite get near enough to the chimney to see properly what was going on, but knew I needed to do something about it. And then at the beginning of the year I just didn't spend enough time here because I was away working, and then now I'm here full time. Over the last few weeks it's been so hot that just not being able to get up on the roof in high 30-degree heat. So I knew I needed to do something about it, and I knew I needed to do something about it before the autumn and the winter came and I needed to light the wood burner. Earlier this year I bought some roof ladders. They've been sat in the other side here for a few months. So I bought a timber roof ladder that came in two parts and an additional third part because I didn't quite know how long I needed from the ridge down to where the roof breaks, with it being an odd shaped roof, to bring a ladder down there, and then also fashion something that let me step around the gutter line and up that shallower roof before it breaks and goes steeply up to the ridge. And I unpackaged them and installed them on the roof last Saturday. Now it turned out I actually needed two lengths and two rungs of the third. So I cut the ladder off at that length so it ran flush with the roof. And then what was left of the third ladder, I cut that and made a podium that sits around the lower section of the roof and also around the gutter line, and was all mechanically fixed to the gutter line. It took me all Saturday morning to set the ladder up before I even put a foot on the ladder. By the time I got the ladder up to the ridge, made the little podium, threw a rope over the house, secured it on the other side, secured the roping that attaches to the harness to the ridge of the house with the ropes. So the ladder's mechanically fixed at both ends, and I've got a rope on the ridge that I'm secured to. Once I actually got up the ladder for the first time, I then threw a chain round the chimney, attached the chain to the ladder and also my harness rope to the ladder. So in practice, the ladder's secured top, bottom and also tied to the eaves on the other side of the roof, and I'm connected to the ladder, I'm connected to the rope that's from eave to ridge to eave, and also connected to the chains that's round the chimney. So I've got 3 points of secure contact to the roof. That's probably as much I think as I could do. Because I was more concerned about my safety, I didn't film any of this. I actually never intended to make a film of this process because I thought it might actually be a quick win, and the hardest part of the project was just getting the ladder up in place. But when I did go up the ladder for the first time, I took my little sports camera up just so I could film what I saw up there and record it and take some measurements, and then I didn't have to come up and down the ladder to think, oh, how big was that measurement again? I got my tape measure out of my pocket though. It is 25 inch. Yeah, you got a pad? Right, it's 25 inches or 640 millimetres by 390 millimetres, maybe 400, it's quite hard to tell, which is about 15.5 inch, and it stands 160 millimetres high. The chimney is just level, so we don't need any more flue liner. Right. Well, the gap between the legs kind of the bottom of the gap between the legs, because of the splay out, is 240 millimeters and 460. The main thing is it actually loose? Yeah, it is. Ooh. It actually is properly broken. Yeah, once up there I found that the chimney cap, which is just over 2 foot long and 16-inch wide, and is like a table, it has 4 concrete legs, one on each corner, and then this slab on the top, was properly broken, and it was like that, which is why the water was funneling down the chimney. The feet had also slid back and was actually overhanging the chimney on the front part, and actually was in danger of falling off the roof and would have caused a lot of damage if it had have come off the roof, either gone through the roof or smashed all the tiles on the way down. That was quite scary. I had always assumed it would be full of rebar, so even though it was like that, it couldn't go like that and separate because the rebar was holding it together. That wasn't the case, and that quite surprised me. A little bit of pointing work I found it needed to be done whilst I was up there anyway. But the main part was to get the dimensions from the chimney, and because it was broken in 2/3 and 1/3, I brought the smaller section down, which was actually really heavy. I put it in a sack and lowered it down on a rope to take it to the builders merchants to buy a replacement, which is where the issues begin. Bear in mind, it could be 50 years old. It could have been there since the house was built. I couldn't find a replacement top the exact size what I needed. All the new modern ones seem to be 500 square as opposed to 600 by 400. Even if I could find a cap the same size, the legs are integral in the top of the chimney. Basically, the whole thing comes in 2 parts. There's almost a male and a female part of the chimney. The female part is bedded onto the top of the chimney stack, and then the male part, the cap, hooks into it to stop it sliding around, and actually lets you take it off so you can sweep down the chimney. And actually, whilst I had the chimney off, I actually did take the brush up and sweep down the chimney. I've always swept up it before, but I swept down it this time, which actually a much easier way to sweep a chimney, should you be able to get on the roof and do that. But I couldn't find the replacement part. So that put me in a little dilemma. Stupidly, I expect I was going to go down to the builders merchants, pick one up, come back, go up the ladder, plonk it on, take the ladder down, done. Never works like that, of course, does it, when you're renovating an older building? So that gave me a dilemma. How do I fix the problem? Even if I'd have found a 600, 400 size cap, because of the leg configurations, I'm pretty sure I would have had to smash the top off the chimney, the existing female part off the chimney, and then rebed another one on and replace it, which I would have been prepared to do. Although I was really worried about the weight. They are so weighty. They probably weigh 30 or 40 kilos, and I weren't sure I was going to climb a ladder with that. I was even thinking I might have to make some kind of little cart and then wheel it up the roof. But in essence, it took the decision out of my hand anyway, just because I couldn't find one. The ones that was 500mm square were no good. They wouldn't have fit the chimney in anyway. So the other option I contemplated was to actually renew all the flue liner right from the wood burner in the lounge up the chimney and put a little Chinaman's hat on the top. And for a while that looked my best option. The only thing that I didn't like about that was that we just decorated all the lounge and taken all the flue liner out, opened the chimney in the lounge. I'd have ended up with the lounge full of soot and dirt, and I'd have been in trouble. I pondered it for a few more days because I brought the little broken bit, the third of it down. The other 2/3 I flipped over on its back and covered up the top of the chimney hill. So at least they were going to get no more rain down. But we did have a lot of rain over the next couple of days. And it gave me time just to ponder what my options were. And I eventually came to the opinion that because the 4 legs on the corner was absolutely fine and it was just the mid-span was broken, that I could probably repair it. What I decided to do was, and this is actually where I started filming some of the process, was to take the other third up, make a little timber structure on top of the chimney, put the table back on, wedge it up so it was flat, fill it full of epoxy fixing, so in essence to glue it together. I've put an high tensile steel with some screw fixings around the chimney to almost clamp it in place while the epoxy sets, and then also put another high tensile band around the feet, so if it did go like that again, the feet couldn't actually move outwards, so in essence that's holding it together as well. And then also I got some perforated steel bar and also set them onto the top of the chimney in epoxy. And I let all that set overnight. And then the next day I made a 2-inch deep, 2 foot, 600, 16-inch, 400 mould from some 1 by 2 timber, put that on the chimney, cut some 6mm reinforcement bar, put that in, and then I've cast a 2-inch concrete slab on top of the chimney. It's load bearing through the legs down onto the top of the chimney. And I've let that go off overnight, and then I remove the mould, and I'm absolutely happy with it. Well, it looks okay. It's gone off, so it's just a case of taking these clamps off and their surround off, and we're done. Typically the weather's changed. I'm gonna get done today because we've got guests coming for the next couple of days, so I just want to get this done and get the ladder down and not think about coming up here anymore. And taking the mould off shouldn't be too difficult. I'm hoping that what might be a tad more difficult is still a bit soft. In overnight rain is I've actually got the chimney chalked up and wedged up. Well, the sun's coming out. Got the chimney pot chalked up to keep it level while I cast the concrete, and I'm hoping that that's going to come out quite easy and not going to have to mess around. It's sat on wedges, so I'm hoping it won't be too bad. Oh, that's nice. It's coming up quite well. Break that cone off a bit maybe, but okay. That corner there is a bit loose, but it'll be fine. Right, see if I can get this timber off here that's sat on the wedge, hopefully. And if that comes out quite easily, then it should be alright. If not, I'm in trouble. Wedges out. Sliver of timber's out. It's coming slowly. Come on. It's raining over there. I'm going to get wet in a minute if I'm not careful. Right. Wouldn't advise chucking stuff off the roof. Be a red card offence on most sites. In fact, on all sites. Right, I'm done. Probably could have done with another day or two in the mould, but I'm done. You can see the rain coming in over there. I'm going to get wet in a minute, so I'm going to turn you off and get down, which is the bit that scares me. So I'm going. I'll see you in a bit. The downside is if it breaks again, I've got a lot more work to get off because I've applied a lot more loading to the top of the chimney. And also that the way that the thing is designed is so you can lift it off and sweep the chimney and then put it on. I would never go up there just to sweep the chimney, it's just far too high. But for a repair. I had no choice. I've obviously made it very heavy now. I took 4 buckets of concrete up on the roof, mixed the concrete in the wheelbarrow and took it up in 4 trips. Before I mixed the concrete, I measured it out exactly with the mould I had. I knew exactly how much concrete I needed to do the job. It's interesting when you are working at heights, it just focuses the mind on what equipment you need and what before you do the job. When you do something on the ground and you start and you think, I've not got a tape measure, I've not got an hammer, or I haven't got any screws, and you just go and get them, and you spend a lot of time wandering around. And I know I spend a lot of time wandering around because I film a lot of what I do, and most of my film footage that you guys don't see is me wandering around looking for things. But once to climb the ladder up on the roof, I actually make a list of what I'm going to do and what tools I need to do it before I start it. There's a method statement in place before you do it, just to make sure you're not doing unnecessary trips up and down the ladder. So if I'm going to give you a tip for working at heights, do that. Make a task list and then make a list of what equipment you need and materials you need before you embark on it. And most of that's actually fueled by nervousness of being up at the height and not wanting to climb the ladder, get my leg over the ridge, sit there and come back down. Would I do anything different if I had to do it again? The only probably thing I would maybe do now if I had to do it again, I would, and I probably will do this anyway because I've still got some decorating work, painting works to do around the house, is actually go around with resin eyelets into the wall, so I've got some more points to attach my lanyard and my harness from. Wouldn't do this without having an harness. I bought the roof ladder, the harness, and having the harness was absolutely paramount important. Yeah, being up there is not my favourite, and you guys who work at heights day in day out, hats off to you. Bizarrely, you use muscle groups that you don't use. My legs really ache, and also my legs are covered in bruises, especially the back of my thighs where I've been sat over the ridge. Actually my seat bones, a bit like riding a bike, are also really sore, so I need to get a padded ridge tile next time. I'm glad the job's done. I'm glad the ladder's down. In fact, getting the ladder down was harder than getting the ladder up. I got in a little bit of a tangle with my lanyard getting it down, which caused me concern for a couple of seconds. Only problem is, I've left one of my gloves on top of the chimney. Oh well, the birds can have it. I did it safely as I could do it. I was attached to the roof in 3 places. I was never on the roof without being attached to at least 2 places. Working at height is always risk, and being up there 27 feet up, 9 metres is high. I have to say though, once I got my heart rate under control and got comfy up there, the view is spectacular. Our house sits on top of an hill, so it's pretty much downhill in every direction anyway. And then being up there above the trees and the views down the valleys are amazing. But I hope you found it interesting. It's a different video. It's not totally a woodworking video, but it's a property repair video, and it's kind of what we do. Most of us who do woodwork end up doing property repairs. A necessary evil when you own a property. So there you go guys. I'm going to finish my coffee off, which is going cold, and I'm going to edit this video and get it out for you. And then hopefully next week when you see me again, we'll be doing the workbench on terra firma. Until next week guys, bye.